Okay, just so everybody's aware, this meeting is being recorded, not just for posterity, but so that we get accurate minutes for it. So I'd like to call the August 3rd, 2020 meeting of the Town of Cicero Zoning Board of Appeals to order. Miss August, please call the roll.
Mr. Rabia?
Here.
Luckett?
Here.
Mr. Palladino?
Here.
Mr. Natale?
He's muted.
Mr. Natale? Mr. Stanton?
Here. If one of you wouldn't mind texting Gary to let him know he needs to unmute
I'm here.
himself.
Oh, he just did.
I'm here.
Oh, very good.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr.
okay, thank you.
I am here.
Please note that tonight's meeting is also being simulcast on YouTube and, as I mentioned previously, is being recorded. I'd like to present some housekeeping rules to ensure that this meeting goes smoothly. First, please make all efforts to cut down on background noise or mute yourself, including cell phones and pagers. Second, please allow everyone ample time to finish speaking. And third, please announce your name prior to speaking to assist with following the flow of conversation. Now, if everyone would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
United States of America
and to the
and to the republic for which stands
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Let's go here.
Has everyone read the minutes of the July 6th, 2020 meeting?
Yes. Gary, yes.
Are there any corrections? Okay. Not hearing any corrections. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
So that's Gary Palladino. Do I have a second?
Second.
That's Ms. Luckett. Please call the roll.
You're muted, Anne Marie.
Hello?
Can't hear you, Anne Marie.
There we
Did you mute me, Chuck?
go. No, I have no muting control, so that's not.
Okay. All right, Mr. Rabia?
Yes to the motion.
Ms. Luckett?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Palladino?
Yes to the motion.
Natale?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes to the motion. I was remiss in introducing myself. I am Chuck Stanton, the chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Cicero Town Board acknowledges the importance of full public participation in all public meetings, and therefore, we urge all who wish to address those in attendance to please do so via this Zoom meeting. At this time, I'll make a motion that all actions taken tonight are type 2 actions and have a negative impact that is no impact on the environment unless otherwise indicated. Do I have a second?
Chuck,
Gary?
it's Mark. Oh, go ahead, Gary.
No, it's okay, Mark. You take it.
Anne Marie, it's Mark. I'll second it.
Thank you.
And Anne Marie, when you're ready, if you'd please call the roll.
Mr. Rabia?
Yes to the motion.
Ms. Luckett?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Palladino?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Natale?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes to the motion. We have proof that all items on tonight's agenda have been advertised as directed by law. I'll briefly review the process for tonight's meeting for the benefit of those present, as this process has been modified in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. First, the applicant will have an opportunity to describe their project. Second, the board will then ask questions about the project. Third, we'll then open a public hearing where any comments collected as prescribed in the meeting notices are read out loud and into the record. Fourth, the board members will then follow up on any questions posed in the public hearing, and the applicant will then be given the opportunity to respond to these public input questions and provide additional information. Fifth, after the public hearing is closed, the board members will again have the opportunity to question the applicant. Sixth, the board will openly discuss amongst ourselves the 5 factors that contribute to the final decision. This board does not have a pre-agenda meeting, so there is no prior discussion of cases outside of this meeting. And finally, a motion will be made either approving or denying the requested variance, will be seconded and voted upon. So that moves us into our individual cases. Our first case tonight is Matthew Kinney for a property on 8511 Torchwood Lane. Before we get Mr. Kinney to describe his project, I did want to note that we do have a resolution from the Onondaga County Planning Board, which is required because of his proximity to state and county routes. What I'd like to note is that therefore it is resolved that the Onondaga County Planning Board determined that this referral will have no significant adverse or community or countywide implications and may be consequently acted upon by the referring board. So with that, Kenny, if you wouldn't mind describing your project for us.
This is Heather Kinney. I'm his wife. I know he's working right now, so I'm not sure if he's actually on the call or not.
Okay.
We're hoping to.
Yeah, I'm on the
Oh.
call.
Okay, go ahead then.
Hi, this is Matthew Kinney, owner of 8511 Torchwood Lane. When I purchased the property, there was an existing porch structure on the front of the house with 2 steps in front of that going down. What we would like to do is build a mudroom identical size to the porch that's there now, 10 foot wide, 6 foot deep, enclose it, put a roof over it, and the stair structure would remain the same. It's just an unheated space used for coats and shoes. That's essentially the project we're looking to build.
Okay, does the board have any questions?
No, I don't. Gary Palladino has no questions. Pretty cut and dry.
Gary Natale has no questions.
Mark, anything from you?
Yeah, hi, it's Mark Rabia. Question for you on the structure. So there is something there right now. Are you just going to build on top of that, or are you going to take that back down to the ground and dig a foundation, or what's the plan there?
We're going to remove the existing structure. I was going to put a ledger board on the house, put 2 concrete pylons 4 foot below grade, a couple inches above, with a 6x6 pressure treated post to the platform structure, 4x6 posts in the corners to support the front edges, and 2x8 rafters. But yeah, we're definitely not going to be using that existing structure to build off of.
Okay. No, I don't. Yeah, Chuck, I don't have any questions. I drive by it every day, so I've been watching the progress on the house for the last year or so.
Okay, very good. So if there's no further questions at this point, I will open the public hearing. Steve or Anne Marie, have there been any public comments provided?
No.
I have not received any formal comments for or against the project. I did, I think, take one phone call just inquiring what was involved with, but that was it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. As there were no comments submitted at this time, I will close the public hearing. And this question is posed to the board. Is there any additional information or questions that you have?
None from Gary Natale.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Would someone like to review the 5 factors?
I can do it.
All right, Ms. Luckett, please take it away.
Number one, whether an undesirable change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties would be created. Hang on, I'm getting some feedback. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes? I said no, an enclosed entryway is not out of character with the other residential properties that are along this stretch of Torchwood Lane.
Great.
Agreed.
Yeah, this is-
Agree.
I agree.
Number two, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. I said no, that the purpose is to create a mudroom at the front door, and the front of the house is at 31.6, and any addition to the front entryway would require a variance.
Agree.
Number three, whether the requested area variance is substantial. I said no, he wants to be 6 foot closer or 20%. That's not substantial.
Agree.
Whether the variance would have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. I said no.
Agreed.
Agree.
Great.
Agreed.
And whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. Yes, the applicant is choosing to construct a mudroom porch that does not meet the zoning ordinance.
Agree.
Yeah, agree.
Agreed.
So I make a motion to approve an area variance where the applicant is seeking to enclose a 6 foot times 10 foot front porch on a 0.24 acre parcel in an R10 zoning district. The total front yard setback would be reduced from 30 feet to 25.6 feet.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it, Gary Palladino.
Okay. Ms. August, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Rabia,
Yes to the motion.
Oh,
Miss-
you're muted,
Ms.
Mr. Rabia.
Ms.
Hear me?
Luckett,
Yes to the motion, if you didn't hear me.
Ms. Luckett,
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Palladino,
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Natale,
Yes to the motion.
and Mr. Stanton.
Yes to the motion. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So our second case tonight is Rob Burns for a property on 8946 Beach Road. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping here. I did want to note, Mr. Burns, before we let you talk, we do have a Onondaga County Planning Board resolution because of your proximity to state or county. They also resolved that the referral has no significant adverse intercommunity or countywide implications and may be consequently acted on solely by the referring board. So with that, Mr. Burns, if you would like to describe your project, please.
Yes, our family's building a camp. I'm representing my mother. Helen Burns is the owner of the property, and she's elderly, so I'm helping her out. But anyways, we've had a camp on an Ida Lake for 54 years, and it's become in a condition that's unrepairable. So we're gonna tear it down, and my mother's gonna build us a new camp. That's about a 1,350 square foot, 1.5 story camp.
Okay, so right now I'm showing the existing lot and the existing structure location, and I'm sure everybody's been out to take a look at that. What's coming up next is the proposed structure. I just want to flip back and forth a little bit between that. So the proposed structure is 10 feet back from the road boundary, which is an increase over the original structure that's going to be demolished.
Chuck, can you tell how far the existing structure is back from the road boundary on the survey? I had a hard time trying to get a scale print.
Rob, what is it, 3.5 feet?
It looks
3.5 feet.
Oh, is that it right there? 3.5?
You got it.
3.7, 3.8.
Oh,
Got it. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't see that dimension there. Okay,
Oh, no worries. No worries.
thank you.
Before I ask questions, does any of the board have questions?
I guess I have a question. Why can't you build at the building line? That footprint would fit back there and you have a double lot.
The footprint meaning 30 feet off the road?
The footprint of the house would fit 30 foot off the road. It would fit behind the setback like the house next door to the right.
Well, the house next door to the right has 20 feet additional property. Their parcels deeper to the lake than ours. That's the comps to the right you're talking about?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, if you look at the lay of the land, the lake goes out about 20 or 30 feet there.
But you do have a double lot. It's 66 feet wide, so you have lots of land
Width-wise.
width-wise.
Yeah, depth-wise, it's 94 feet. And you know, the beauty being on the lake is to use what we call the front yard. The other factor is we get some hellacious east winds down there. And as you get closer to the lake, I mean, we've had east winds roll right over the top of the seawall and bounce off this camp, let alone putting something 40 feet closer to the lake. The other real factor is if you ever had ice come off the lake, the ice would wipe the camp out. So the farther back you are from the lake, the better you are from a safety standpoint, first off. And then in regards to enjoying the property, putting the camp 30 feet off the road, 32 feet camp, now you're left with 20 feet in front of the camp between you and the water, 25 feet.
Mhm.
So we've established that, you know, maybe 30 feet is not what is desirable in your mind. One thing that we do look at when we have a case like this, where we have an existing non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot, that we do at least try to improve things a little bit. Do you have any wiggle room as far as your desires as far as where the camp is located, or the structure now, if we could increase that 10 feet, maybe not have the 30 feet, but have some kind of compromise as far as how far back that is? Because what I'm noting is that, you know, as I drove up and down Beach Road, a lot of the older camps that have been converted, yes, they're close to the road. A lot of times though, when we have these complete demos and rebuilds, we at least try and get a little bit back further from the road. And I've seen that up and down here. And I'm wondering how you felt about that, if that were 15 feet, if that were 20 feet.
Well, one of the determining factors too is our neighbors have all been down there. We've been there 54 years and we're the newest people and we all get along very well. If you look at our neighbor to the left, that's Brefka's. And the farther we go up, the worse we're going to wreck their view. And I really don't want to wreck Norb and Doty's view. And now their son just bought the place. So it's going to remain in their family's camps, in their family's, you know, possession. So if you look at the camp on the left of us or the house on the left of it, we always call them camps down there. The farther we go up, we're going to obstruct Norb Brefka's view to the right. The house on, it says lot 11. We're going up basically flush with him. And then 2 doors down, you have comps to our right, which is lot 8, but his lot is 20 feet deeper into the lake. So he has more wiggle room. So if you look at Brefka's, us, and Schultz, which is the next one down to the right, it's not numbered. It goes 11, 10, and then 8, and then Schultz is not numbered. We'd be lining up with all those camps. So we're not trying to go up or go back farther, or go what we call up farther, closer to the lake. We're not trying to create any adverse feelings with our neighbors either. I mean, part of this, you don't want to, you know, I don't want to wreck Norb's view. He has a deck off the front of the house. The farther we go up, we wreck his whole view.
Chuck, we did 89, 38 The lot that's to the right of lot 8, some 15 years ago. I can't remember the exact date, but you know.
Schultz's,
one of
that
the things
Schultz's
about-
was done about 4 years ago.
What was it, 4 years ago?
Schultz was done 4 years ago.
They all the camps blend together.
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about was the ability to park a car in the driveway, and that's the reason why he ended up kind of where he is. So he's 13, call it 14 from the road boundary, probably 22 from the edge of pavement. I think that's a fairly, in my mind, that's a fairly reasonable compromise. I think 10 doesn't leave you, all that much to park a car.
Well, we own the two parcels across the street, so we have a big parking lot across the street.
Mhm.
If you look at the 2 lots across the street, my mother owns both of those also. So we have no need for parking.
Okay, so Robert, this is Gary Palladino. I had a couple of
How you doing
questions.
today?
The one drawing I'm looking at with the proposed house, is that a deck you have dashed in the back?
Yes, that's not going to be built originally though.
Okay, do you know what size you would build it when the time comes, or what you're proposing?
Well, I'm in the stamped concrete business. So what I would probably do is put a stamped staircase out the side of it and only go around half the front of the camp. I'd go around the camp towards the comp side. The stone pad, stamped patio wouldn't even go over towards Brefka's. But it wouldn't, I don't want it raised up in the air either.
Okay. No, the reason I ask is you've got that big, whatever it is, maple tree or something in the back, and I didn't know, do you have plans on taking that down?
Helen Burns is 93 and the tree's not coming down.
That's the right answer. Okay, so,
Mom wants the tree.
yeah, because I was looking at that, and the first thing that came to my mind is, well, can we go back? How much farther can we go back? That's why I asked what you're gonna put on the back of the house. So you can make, and I realize that to cut the tree down, one would be an expense, and two, it would take away from the natural beauty of the area.
Well, we need more trees down there anyways. There's more trees going to be planted. We just had to take down a bunch of trees because they were getting old. So in regards to trees, we're going to be planting trees, not taking trees out.
But that's why I wanted to know what you were gonna put behind, how much of a deck or pad you were gonna put behind the house.
Yeah. So
Because-
that answers the question, correct?
Well, I still don't know how many feet. Do you know roughly how many feet going towards east, going towards the lake, will that pad be? Will it be a 3-foot pad, a 5-foot
No,
pad?
probably 10 feet.
A 10
You know,
foot?
a picnic table's 5, so if you had a 10-foot deck, sufficient patio. It'd wrap around from the side of the camp. The entry door to the camp's gonna be in like the front right towards comps. So you'd come out that door and then go around towards the front some. I stamped the whole seawall out towards the lake. The majority of our time is spent out on the seawall. If you look at that seawall, it goes, this shows it over to the front right towards comps. That's a larger patio. That's what we use as a patio. We wouldn't have a patio on the camp per se.
I got one.
I didn't know that.
This is Terry. Some more background. We had a new construction at 9012 Beach Road, and we had him go back to 18 feet for that same issue, Mark, parking the car there.
Where was that one? Down towards
9012.
Rose on the corner?
I don't know if it's on I don't think it was on the corner.
The house Joe Grosso built?
Oh, I know it's next to Danielle McCann's house. It's her brother.
I don't know.
I can't remember the guy's name, sorry. Giordano, something like that. Does that sound
Oh,
right?
that's further up the street. Yeah.
Giordano.
Giordano.
Yeah.
How about an idea of rotating the house 90 degrees? Keep it, well, you wouldn't go any deeper, but you'd get 4 feet back farther off the road.
Yeah, that's not how they designed it.
Could
We've
they
already
just-
spent all the money on the architectural drawings.
Okay. So you spent the money assuming you get the variance, is that what you're saying?
No, we spent the money on the recommendation of the architect. This is his design.
Okay.
My mothers and sisters went and talked to him.
Okay. Well, I guess we gotta come up with something creative here.
So, and I know the house is centered. I just don't want to get to the point where we haven't exhausted any options. I know the proposed house is centered on the property. And I know that we want to keep the tree behind the house.
So what we could do is move, if it's centered on the property, as the house is now, we're about 6 feet off Norby's border. We could move the house back over to the left. We could move it so that we're, say, not 6 feet from the property line, but maybe come out 8 or 10. Don't you have to be a total of 15? Isn't it 6 and 9 or something like that, that the requirement be total of 15 feet on both sides?
Well, I was going to get to that, but you actually cut me off while I was talking. So,
I'm sorry, I didn't. I thought you were
suggestion,
done.
my suggestion, which you actually got to, was to shift the house to the left. You can go as close as 6 feet, and since you've got a plenty wide property, it's not an issue here as far as the total, which would allow you to slide the house back a little bit. It wouldn't require any rotation or changes in your architectural plan. It would literally just be where the footprint is.
Where the current footprint is, you mean?
I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that.
Are you saying where the current footprint is, sir?
No, I'm not saying go as far over as where the current footprint is, but enough so that if we were to, and again, I'm still alluding to the fact that maybe we want to get more than 10 feet from the road boundary, where if we were to slide the house back a couple more feet, it wouldn't be in danger of impacting that tree. So, a shift of even 10 feet to the left as we look at the drawing could go a long ways towards not having an impact to that tree and allowing you to keep the house.
Yeah, if you're worrying about the tree's not coming down. We're gonna keep the tree.
No, I heard that. What I'm trying to do is offer an option that may be amenable to the rest of the board too, from the comments that I'm hearing.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So you're saying shift it left and then shift it back. Do you have a number of feet that you're thinking, Chuck?
No, that's really, it's not really up to us to necessarily dictate. This is supposed to be a negotiation. But I could say that if one of the concerns was not impacting that tree, that shifting it off to the left enough to miss it would allow us to add a couple more feet to that setback to the front yard to allow us to maybe I'll be able to come to agreement that this is a good option. While you guys are thinking that over, Steve, or Anne Marie, were there any comments that we received for this?
No.
Okay.
No, I have not received any.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So at this time, I will open the public hearing, and as there were no comments submitted, at this time, I will close the public hearing. And this is directed to the board. Are there any other questions, comments?
I just think it needs to be something a little bit more than 10 feet, Chuck.
Okay.
I'm in agreement with that.
I didn't, Chuck, did you scale out? I mean, or did anybody pick up the actual drawings? Because I'm looking at it online and honestly, I can't get a feel of where that tree is and how much, I mean, could we get away with a move north or to the left as we're looking at it? 9 feet, and that would give a 10-foot side. And would that allow enough to go back, let's say 5 feet?
Or isn't that tree depicted right on lot 9 there?
Yeah,
This is Terry. He's doing it in Stampcrete, so he can.
no. Yeah, I understand it, Terry. I'm sorry, but how far does the house have to go over to go back without having the corner right into the tree?
So
You know what I'm
that,
saying? If we move it over 9 foot, and I'm just throwing these numbers out just to try to get a feel as to if it's workable. But
He's
if the
got
house is
19.
over 9 foot and back 5, where would that be in relationship to the tree?
so this is Chuck Stanton. I know just by looking at this that this is just a depiction of a tree. It's not the actual dimensions.
No.
Let me see here if I can. This isn't necessarily current. However, everybody should be able to hopefully at this point see the Google Maps image that I have set up.
No.
Hold on.
Yeah, we got it, Chuck. I
How
got
about
it.
now?
No, I don't have it, but
Nope, lost it.
Okay, hold on. Hold on.
Got it.
Okay. Gary Palladino, you cannot see that?
oh yeah, here it is.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys can see the cursor, probably not, but I did drop a pin on the camp, and then diagonal to that is the tree that we're talking about. So looking at this, I guess in my estimation, the new house would almost have to be in the same exact location as the old house.
I've gone down there and laid it out with stakes so that if we came over 2 feet to get off Norby's property line a little bit and we went up to 10 feet, it's going to fit. There's stakes in the ground down there. Where you guys, someone was down there today talking to my mother.
Yeah, I
That
believe it
was-
was Mr. Natali.
That was me.
We've all been out to see the site, and thank you for clarifying what the stakes are. So, could you clarify that 2-foot dimension that you were talking about?
That Norb's, what you guys are referring to, a lot 11 is Norb Brefka, 8948.
Okay.
And from what I understand, we're currently 6 feet off his property line, and we'd come over 2, so we'd be 8 feet off it. So we'd be 8 feet off Norb's property line. We'd be up an additional 6.5 feet from where we are now. And then it would fit, to keep the tree, keep my mother happy, keep you guys happy. And then we would just stamp around it, or not around it, stamp around the front of the house down the road. As I say, we've never had a patio and we've never had a deck, and we're not even set on having one, to be honest with you. That's nothing that's in a 4-year, 5-year time frame. We go out to the lake and hang out on the seawall. And then we put a picnic table on the lawn.
I measure 19 feet over to the neighbor's property line.
On which one, Miss Luckett?
It's a lot 11, 8948. I get 19 feet
Right. Are you the existing or the proposed?
proposed.
Yeah, but we're talking about moving back over towards Norby.
That's 8948.
Yes.
Correct.
So sliding it over, and you want to slide it over so that you're 6 feet off the property line. That's what you're saying?
No, 8. We're currently 6. I believe.
Oh, I see. Okay, you're talking about the existing house.
Terry,
Correct.
can Can you please scale that and just make sure we're all talking the same language here? I don't have a physical set in front of me right now.
I can go get the survey in the other room if you bear
Yeah,
with me.
the existing house is 8 feet off of the property line. I see what you're talking about. And your proposed house is 19 feet off. So there's a lot of room to move left.
Yeah, we could move over 10 feet. That's not a problem.
Now, we're talking about moving back though.
Yes, I think we're all talking the same. I hope.
Yeah, over and back.
Well, let me ask you this. How far would, I mean, if we went up to where Schultz's were, is that going to appease you?
Who's Schultz?
That's 8940.
Yeah, I mean, we're wasting 3 feet of our property, but I mean, you know,
I mean, I don't think we're saying that you have to go that far back. He's 30 feet back.
No,
no, that's Johnny
Harry, it's
Comp.
80
He's my next door neighbor.
89:30.
Schultz
It's
is 2 doors
89:38.
up. And the reason you went 13 and a half feet with Schultz is so he could put a car behind his house. We were asking for 10 feet because we don't need to put a car behind our house. We got 2 lots that we're paying taxes on across the street to park our cars. You're saying that the variance obviously with the 30 feet. So at 13 and a half feet was justifiable for Schultz to park a car, and we're asking for 10. And it seems to be drawing a lot of, questioning. What if we went to 11 and a half feet? Would that satisfy everybody?
I was thinking 18.
No.
What was it? I'm sorry, it broke up. Did you say 13 and a half?
No, Schultz is 13 and a half feet. And the reason
Right.
Schultz is 13 and a half feet is so that he could put a car there. And
Right.
we don't need to have a car there. So the argument for Schultz to be 13 and a half feet to fit a car there and us asking for 10 feet because we have 2 parking lots across the street to hold upwards of 10 or 15 cars. We could park more cars than anybody on the street. So if they were allowed to do 13 and a half feet because of cars, we were asking for 10 feet because we already have 2 parcels we pay taxes on. But to appease you, I'm saying, okay, why don't we go to 11 and a half feet? We're wasting 1.5 feet of our lakefront property to appease you. But if that's what it's going to take, that's fine. We'll slide over and be 8 feet off Norb's property, and we'll be 11 and a half feet off the back of the road, or 11 and a half feet off the back of the usable space. So we're increasing it from 3.5 to 11 and a half. We're going up 8 feet.
It wasn't just parking, right? It was to get some of these buildings off the road.
Yeah.
The edge of pavement or the road boundary, right? That was also part of the reason as well, right? Because there's a lot of these older camps that are at the top of the road.
Yes, Mark, there's a general feel when you're down in that area that it's this cavern of structures on either side. It obviously opens up as we move further away from Cicero proper, but I believe that was one of the other.
Right. I mean, clearly we try to work with the homeowners, right? I mean, there's an odd collection of lots and camps and, different sizes that we always have to look at, and everyone ends up being a one-off as we contemplate them.
This is Gary Natale. My comment is, in most cases, we have had to bring people back from the lake because they want to be more forward than their neighbors. I think he's got room for 10 more feet, and he still would not be closer to the lake than each neighbor on the right and left. This is an unusual want that people don't want to be closer to the lake. And he's got to remember, snow starts building up on Beach Road. And quite honestly, 10 feet. And, some of these measurements are pretty questionable, where the center of the road, etc. So my feeling is he's got room for 10 more feet to go closer to the road. And we're still giving him a substantial variance.
Mr. Natale, you did say 10 foot closer to the road. I just want to clarify, did you meant 10 foot further away from the road?
Right, closer to the lake, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm gonna wreck
Thank
my
you.
neighbor's view at 8948. I just took out his view.
I doubt it. I walked it today.
It's a
I
big
doubt
one.
it. 10 feet won't do that. And you don't own a view. Nobody owns a view.
So now that's before the board. What does everyone think?
Well, can I speak about that? You're asking us to go how far off the road, sir?
20 feet, that's still giving you a substantial variance.
Well, 8938 was granted a variance last year and they're 13 and a half feet off the road. So we have to go 6.5 feet more than they do. If you look at the lake if you look at the, where it says Oneida Lake in front of our camp, and you look at 8938 Schultz's, their seawall is farther out in the lake than we are. They're probably 20 feet farther out in the lake, so they have a deeper lot, and we're gonna lose 6.5 feet more additional to them. So 13 and a half and 6.5 is 20, and we're gonna lose 20, and they're 20 feet farther out in the lake. So we're gonna have that much smaller of a front yard. That's not fair.
Steve, do you remember if 8938 was new construction or was it a rehab?
It was new construction.
It was a tear down, they replaced the modular home. It was more than 1 year ago.
Yeah, it was several years ago.
It
I
was
think
4 years
well,
ago.
it was more than 4 years ago. My recollection says it's either 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate.
This is Terry. The most recent one we did on beach was that 90, 12, 18 feet.
And I do want to remind the board that, you know, a lot of people talk about precedent. With zoning, there is no precedent. Each case has to be handled case by case, based on the lot, based on the structure that's being proposed, based on what's around it. So that does need to factor into our decision. So do we have any other questions, comments?
I'd like to ask the applicant, what is he willing to contribute to make this a viable project for you?
Well, as I said, we'd come over 2 more feet from Norby's property. So we're gonna move the camp to the left, which is not a problem. And we'll come off the road another 1.5 feet. So we're gonna move the camp out of the center of the lot. We're gonna be closer to Norb. We're not gonna obstruct his view going forward. Because if you go down there and I mean, I'll meet you down there with a tape measure, and the farther forward we go, the more of this guy's view we wipe out. So you say you're not paying for a view and this and that, but the fact of the matter is you're down there for the lake. And if we move the camp forward 20 feet,
No, 10 feet, only 10 feet. Oh, I mean, 10 more feet.
10 additional feet. Yeah, if you move the camp 10 additional feet, you just wrecked his view on his porch and looking out his front window. Now we're 20 feet off the road. We're losing too much front lawn. That's not acceptable. I mean, I represent my family, and I know what they're going to tell me.
Well,
This is Terry. Can I ask you, Rob, is your view to the right ruined? The house next to you is back 30 feet. Is your view ruined?
With Donnie's, yeah, we can't, the bay bends a little bit there, but yes, we can't see around Donnie's. When he built the garage was when we really lost the whole view. Where it says lot 8, that's a garage. First off, he built an A-frame after the flood in 1992. And then when he moved down there permanently, he put the garage up, and that's when we lost the view of, like, looking down towards Strodel's Marina, for instance.
Mhm.
You can't see that way. Or towards Schultz's, That's that direct, to your right.
So you're asking us to make a decision with you giving an extra 1.5 feet
Yeah,
up
I
or
mean,
down the road?
I don't know what's it gonna take. I mean, to go up 20 feet, I don't think is fair or reasonable. And because number one, I'm gonna hurt my neighbor. Number two, we're gonna lose our front lawn. It's that simple. If we go up 10 more feet, the tree's gone.
No, it's not.
I thought we already figured out how to get past the tree.
Well, that's the tree, if it's on the left-hand side, if it's on the left side, if we move the camp over and go up 10 feet, the tree's gonna be in the corner, and when we dig the foundation, we're gonna wreck the tree. So that it's a moot point as far as the tree. If we go up 10 feet, it doesn't matter how far you go over, the tree's 50 feet tall. When my excavator goes down there and starts digging, the tree's gonna have to come down for safety's sake at that point. You got the roots of that tree all throughout the yard. So the farther you go closer to it, the less likely it is it's going to survive. I mean, I can get trees. I'm in the construction business. I can have 4 trees down there tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock,
Okay,
8 inches wide. So we want trees. We're not here to cut trees down.
I understand. Okay, now your mom owns 9 and 10, right?
And she owns across the street.
Right.
And our family's
So-
been in Cicero for 100 years.
Okay, so you don't want to, are they separately deeded lots?
No,
No.
So why does,
they're not.
what? So that's all one lot, right?
correct.
Looks like you got a lot of room to eliminate any variance.
You're saying to go 30 feet off the road?
What's all the room on the right facing the lake in lot 9? Where you have the pod?
The pod being what?
No, on lot 9, right?
Correct.
So why not try to center the whole lot? Are you trying to keep them separate?
No, just because if the kids wanted to play wiffle ball or people, play frisbee on the side lawn in the summer, we play jarts there, cornhole, you know what I mean? The more of our lawn we can use, we like that.
That's what I'm saying. You got so much lawn. Why do you need lawn between you and the lake? Everybody else wants to be closer to the lake. We've always had to pull people back. We've always had to get them away from the lake to be in line with their neighbors.
Yeah, that's what we're asking for here, is to be in line with the neighbors. If you look at Schultz and look at us and look at Brefka, that we're only seeking to become in line when Donnie Kamp's the only one that's up farther, and Donnie Kamp is up farther because the lake shoots out 20 feet. And the truth of the matter is Mr. Kamp filled that in the 1950s. That's why the lake jets out so far. Donnie's up farther because if you look at the corner of our property, you see where the lake goes out, that's 20 more feet. Mr. Kamp filled that in the 1950s. So he's proportionally got the same amount of front lawn as the rest of us. So, Schultz's are 13.5 feet. Donnie Kamp's 30 because he's got 130. And we're going 10, or if you want to go 12, whatever's going to appease you. But please don't make us go up 30 feet, because if it's going up 30 feet, there's going to be, I don't see it happen. I don't see it happen.
All right, Mr. Burns, with all due respect, I walked the property. I specifically looked to your right and left. You are far back from your neighbors. You have at least 8 feet, and I know you have 10 feet, and you're not going to obstruct their view. Okay? Nobody needs a 210-degree view. 180-degree view is pretty darn good without having a neighbor build in front of you, closer to the lake. So, I mean, you've got to bend a little more. If you want to go with an up or down vote on 1.5 feet, then we're here. You're our customer. We want to satisfy you. But in my opinion, you gotta work with us a little more, and we can get this thing done.
Well,
So-
then why don't we go to Schultz's and go 13.5 feet? Then we're just doing the same ruling you did with them.
Sir, we have 40,000 properties. No two are the same. We don't use a precedent. And you and I both know the surveys along the lake could be challenged by any camp. You and I both know that. So we don't get into what we did, and we don't use any kind of a precedent or a grandfather. It's not in our language. So let's move that closer to the lake, and you can start building tomorrow.
Billy,
I
Tom,
can't make that decision on behalf of my family. I can't tell you that we would settle for 20 feet. I'd like to meet you down there. I didn't realize you folks were all going down there perusing the property. I'd like to meet you down there, sir. I'd like to schedule a meeting with you and go down there with a tape measure.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone making the decision tonight so that we can have a meeting. Now, it can't be more than 2 at one time. So you put together a schedule that's good for you, and we can do this.
I can meet you anytime you want. You guys set it up. I own my own business. I can be down there from 7 in the morning till midnight.
That's my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Before I ask for a second, I just want to check in with our counsel, Terry Kerwin. Do you see any, usually we try to avoid having contact with the applicants because that could be seen as prejudicing the case. Terry, do you see any issues with sticking with the meeting law of no more than 2 people at a time?
Well,
Do you see
actually, you can all meet there because you're not there for the purpose of making a decision. You're there for the purpose of inspecting. But I understand what Mr. Natale is saying. So adhere to that, 2 people, and adjourn the meeting if that's what you like.
How's the board feel about that? Do I have a second? You guys can't see, but Mark, Gary, Palladino, and Terry, I'm looking at you guys.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, Chuck. And here's where we might have some board dissension, right? Gary's saying 20 feet, off the line. I'm not sure. For me personally, I'm not sure I'm at that, right? In my opinion, if we were to get to the 14-ish or so, that would appease me and kind of line up with some of the other properties that we've done along that stretch, so to speak, and make them look very similar. So that's where my head's at. If you guys want to adjourn, I'll support it, but I'm just kind of giving you where I'm at.
So coming from my perspective on this, there's been a lot of talk about different front yard dimensions. However, I feel that I might be able to get behind a 15-foot dimension as opposed to a 20. It's not the full 20 that Mr. Natale is asking for. It's not an oddball 13.7 or 14 feet. It seems a little bit more reasonable, at least in my perspective.
Mr. Chairman, I would be comfortable with 15 feet, but not the original 16.5 feet.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Natale.
This is Terry. I can live with 15.
Okay, so the real question here then, because we can approve anything, but Mr. Burns, how would you feel about 15?
Can you go 14?
I think 15 might be the final offer on this one.
Well, I'll tell you, it's coming down to my neighbor, and the guy's been my neighbor for 55 years, and I really don't want to be putting the camp up and wrecking Norby's View. The guy's 84 years old. These people have been down there forever. Every foot matters. If I'm up there, now you're pushing us up another 5 feet from the map I'm looking at. I mean, we don't have to build this place tomorrow. If that gentleman wants to go down there with me, we want to measure it out. I mean, 14 feet is 4 more than what we're even proposing. It's more than Schultze, and it's keeping me back from wrecking Norby's View. We don't want to wreck Norb's View, and we want our front lawn. If you guys want to say 15, what's your justification for 15 versus 14? My justification for 14 is a neighbor of mine for 55 years. That's why I don't want to wreck Norb's View over a foot and piss him off.
That's why, Mr. Chairman, let's go out there. Let's stake it out. Okay. Let's have a good starting point and let's stake it out. And I'll show you he's got room, and let's postpone this to next month, which was my original motion.
Forget it. I don't want to. If you guys vote 15, I'll go deal with my mother. If she doesn't want to do it at 15, can we reopen this?
You'll have to, it's up to the chairman.
So there would have to be, one thing I'm trying to save you is if this gets denied or if this goes away, you don't want it. There has to be a substantial change in order for it to be resubmitted. And then there's potentially another application fee. So one thing I'm trying to consider is that we really don't want to run up the bill on resubmittals for you. I'm fine. I'm fine with doing an on-site meeting. I would amend Mr. Natale's motion, though, that based on our council's advice, we can have the whole board out there. That might actually be a little bit more convenient and they can all see. I would just remind everybody that while we are there to observe, expressing opinions is not allowed.
Well, he's already expressed his opinion.
Well, I'm talking about actually out on site. If we're trying to express our opinion to influence others, that's not allowed. That's a meeting, and we can't do that. We can observe. We can see what the stakeout is, and I would second that motion, Mr. Tadali. So Anne Marie, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Rabia,
Yes to the motion.
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Palladino,
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Natale,
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes to the motion. And Steve, can I count on your office to try and set something up here?
I could set it up right now.
Absolutely, we can do that.
Okay. I want to be, again, the other people, we all have day jobs. We want to make sure that everybody can
Not
really
all
get
of us,
there.
Chuck.
Well, everybody except for Mr. Palladino has a day job. So just want to make sure that everybody can actually do it. So over the next day or two, let's see if we can get that set up. We'll go out there and we will be back next month to talk about this.
Very good.
So we postponed. And with that, is there any further business that the board has? Okay, there being no other business, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And Marie, please note that everybody was in favor of that. And thank you, everyone. Meeting's adjourned.